We have now refreshed the Model S with no more steering wheel and no more gear stocks.
Wow, okay, it's like a sports car with this yoke and everything, but these buttons are kind of clunky. Do you think having a horn button right there is a good idea?
Ugh, fine, we'll add a steering wheel option.
Oh, okay, well that's good, but it's the button thing that was kind of bothering me.
Fine, okay, we'll remove the gear stocks on the Model 3 as well.
No, I actually want the gear stocks on the Model S and the X to come back. Is that gonna be an option too?
We can't remove the gear stocks on the Model Y yet, okay? We've got too many factory lines running. We're trying to ramp up production. There's enough demand for the Model Y as is.
I don't think you're listening anymore, but the hand-over-hand motions with the yoke are a little bit annoying, so I think I will take the steering wheel.
Well, that'll be $1,000.
$1,000 after I spent 140 grand on this car, and then you reduce the price by 50?
Yes.
Great. It's kind of funny how Tesla has found a way to divide car owners like never before. Didn't realize that people would be this passionate about yoke versus steering wheel or button versus gear stock. But these are the discussions we have to have when Tesla's so focused on cutting things out, removing parts, because the best part is no part, the best process is no process. And we got this leaked footage from a channel that flies drones over the Fremont factory named Caliber 197. And usually the drone footage is not terribly insightful. You can just kind of see Tesla testing around some stuff, but this one actually I'm surprised more people aren't talking about because it was quite hilarious to watch the test driver try this out. So in this video that you can see for yourself, he's in obviously one of these prototype Model 3s that's covering up the new front design, which we've already seen thanks to some employee that didn't care about his job too much, and likely some kind of tail light update. Now we can see the interior is also covered up a lot, and there is notably no more gear stocks behind the steering wheel. In fact, the test driver actually reaches behind the wheel to put it in reverse and then realizes, wait a second, there's no gear stock here. And then you can see him do exactly what you do on the Model S and X already, which is swipe down on the side of the display to put the car into reverse, and then that's what happens. He backs up in reverse. I hesitate to use the word confirmation because there's a chance that maybe this is just one prototype with one implementation and maybe it won't make it into production if they get enough complaining about it, but dare I say this is pretty darn near close to confirmed for Project Highland because this is a manufacturer-owned vehicle. We can tell by the license plate. It's within the Fremont factory facility. It's being driven around on the test track, so to me, this is as close as you can get to confirmation of an interior design update, which means thanks to some other images as well, we can see that Tesla's using a new type of steering wheel in the Model 3, which is likely very, very similar, if not the exact same steering wheel that we see in the Model S. I argued a while with a few people online that said, no, it's the same steering wheel as the Tesla Semi, but half of the buttons on the Tesla Semi are for, brake release things and different controls that are more in line with what a semi-truck needs to have access to, not to what a sedan needs to have access to. So my guess, maybe I'm wrong, is that they're just taking the Model S and X steering wheel, bringing that to the Model 3, which I assume is cheaper to do than having the gear stocks, but I'm still not sure because I feel like removing the gear stocks adds more complexity with the capacitive buttons. Having now played around with the steering yoke and refresh Model S and X, I can tell there's definitely more haptic feedback that goes into that steering wheel, and of course more wiring has to be put in for those lights and buttons. Maybe it's not so much the materials themselves are cheaper, it's just it requires less steps total because you just build that steering wheel once and then you put it in the car and then you're done. But now Tesla's actually been filing paperwork recently for not only just updating and refreshing existing assembly lines, but this is the first time we're actually seeing them file for destruction and demoing of existing assembly lines. Like, they are going to be removing entire parts and pieces of the assembly process at the Fremont factory. We don't know exactly which vehicle it's for, but so far all of the leaks and rumors seem to be pretty believable following the big Project Highland refresh, so that's why I'm inclined to believe that these filings are indeed for the refresh. And if they're taking out huge portions of the assembly line and and ripping out old robots and that kind of thing, this points to the idea that maybe by getting rid of those gear stalks, they can simplify a bit of the interior process. And I also think there will be more changes, not just with the gear stalks. Like, as you can see in that video that Caliber posted, they're covering up the entire dash. And notably, there's little holes in that dash cover so that the HVAC system can still reach the driver. So I believe that means that the whole minimalistic HVAC vent across the front should remain the same. But also, I don't see anywhere in that dashboard a space for a new driver display. So don't get your hopes up for them just copying the entire Model S and X design and putting it in the Model 3. According to the original Reuters report, the entire purpose of this refresh, which is kind of a challenging one, but the way they worded it is to lower the cost to build the Model 3 as well as increase the desirability. So the leaked photo we got of the updated Model 3 front that no longer has the floodlights or the side air intakes in favor of making the front look a lot more simplified. I think personally this is a good move to likely simplify what it costs to build that front. Maybe this one is more optimized for no longer requiring the ultrasonic sensors. It's entirely possible that they built the Model 3 front bumper and maybe even the rear bumper a certain way to accommodate for all that extra wiring of the 12 ultrasonic sensors, and now that they've basically given up on that already, they can update that and no longer require the fog lights at the bottom, and they can integrate all of those features in with the Matrix LED headlights and kind of borrow a bit from the Roadster design language. So easier to produce, cheaper to produce, while still giving it a new fresh modern look that increases the desirability, because Model S and X are not occupying that much of the Fremont factory floor space. However, I think Model 3 demand is not quite where it needs to be. That's why you can find them in existing inventory now. Tesla's offering like $1,300 discounts on brand new Model 3s, probably because they want to sell out as much as they can of those existing inventory models, because maybe the value of them is going to go down a lot once they officially drop this new Model 3 design. And it's pretty clear and obvious by the price hikes and the inventory trackers that we have that everybody's buying the Model Y, right? Like, it's just so close in price to the Model 3, and people will pay more for hatchbacks, and all the Model Ys, at least in the United States, qualify for the full tax credit. So because there's so much demand for the Model Y, it's likely eating into the sales of the Model 3 by quite a bit. So by refreshing the Model 3, giving it some new interior choices, like the Reuters report also mentioned removing all of that wood trim, so that's likely something else they're covering up, is this updated dashboard. Maybe it's going to use a different material that looks a bit more luxurious or premium. Who knows? Maybe they put some RGB lighting in there or whatever. And that way, even though the Model 3 may cost close to the same as the Model Y, or who knows, maybe it will start even a little bit higher than the Model Y when it's refreshed, it will get another surge in demand, because it's basically going to be the first time in like 6 years that they've actually updated very noticeably the interior and the exterior of the car. So that may affect Model Y demand a bit, because now people buying the Model Y will be like, hey, I'm buying a car with the old gear stocks and the old front design that hasn't been updated, and maybe that will help more evenly distribute the demand, and then Tesla will eventually update the Model Y with all of these things in the future, but you're gonna have to wait a year or two before they update them. And by the way, updating the Model Y design is gonna be a lot more complicated to do globally, because you've got two factories in the US, two separate assembly lines building Model Ys, and then you've got Giga Berlin building Model Ys, and you've got Giga Shanghai building Model Ys, whereas updating the Model 3, still, I'm sure no easy task, but they're technically only having Fremont build Model 3 and Giga Shanghai building Model 3. So you just update those two factories and then you're good. But Model Y, especially because it's still in the ramp-up process right now at Texas and Berlin, they're probably not going to want to touch it with any kind of massive front or interior upgrades or taillight upgrades for the foreseeable future. So I'm kind of excited to see what the public's reaction is to this Project Highland thing, because honestly, I know a lot of people that like having the gear stocks and will probably be ticked off if Tesla removes them and says, you can do everything on the capacitive buttons. But here's hoping that because now they're gonna have to design a way for you to shift gears on the Model 3 display, maybe they give it a better display with thinner bezels, or maybe a bigger one. If not, I'll be very curious to see what it's like to have that auto shift functionality that the Model S and X have on a smaller 15-inch display. Honestly, I've got that 15-inch display in my car too, so it would be kind of fun to try it out myself for people who are like, yeah, you know what, I don't want to have to use the gear stocks. Let me choose my vehicle direction just on the interior display. And also, if we've got the same cameras basically that the Model S and X have, let's have auto shift, right? Like, the car should just be able to tell, hey, there's an object in front of me, let's put the car in reverse when I put my foot on the brake. Or if there's obstruction behind me, then let's put the car in drive. I like those kinds of smart features that are on the Model S and X, but there's nothing but software preventing them from bringing that to the Model 3. So I think we could all benefit from this kind of refresh, and if you're not interested in ditching the gear stocks, or you don't like the updated front design because it looks a little more faceless or doesn't have the fog lights anymore, well, you're in luck because there's existing inventory, brand new Teslas that Tesla's offering discounts on now that still qualify for a $37.50 tax credit, and you'll still get Tesla credits if you use a referral code like the one in the description, so you can get 500 miles of free supercharging and all that. So everybody benefits. If you're willing to wait a little while, you can get the older design for cheaper. If you like the new design, hopefully in the next couple months Tesla actually unveils this thing, because yeah, this is shaping up to be, in my opinion, like the biggest update the Model 3 has received since 2017, which is awesome. Although if it's anything like previous Tesla big design refreshes, it will likely start out with a price hike because there's likely to be a huge surge in orders at the beginning, but because it's cheaper to build and cheaper to manufacture, over time they probably will have more margin to work with, so they can lower prices as demand may taper off for it. But what do you guys think Tesla's gonna do with the interior, the exterior, the display, the pricing, the range options, and all that? Feel free to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. It helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.